Hey, yeah, I know it's been a while since I've done a video like this, where I'm actually going outside and walking around, and it's fairly nice today. Maybe for some a little bit on the warm side, but, for me it's pretty much, besides the humidity, pretty much, like, perfect temperature or whatever, and sunniness, I guess, but, yeah, I had some stuff to talk about, obviously. Now all these fucking assholes start driving by. Well, obviously I had some stuff to talk about, but, I guess just to get started, yesterday, I went with, my parents. We went together to, a little family, my dad's side of the family, like, dinner thing. Just to this Italian place we've been to a good few times. Not too far away for us three or whatever. And what did I have? I had, what was it, 5 cheese tortellini carbonara. And, yeah, it was pretty good. Had, like, I didn't know that's what, tortellini carbonara was, but it's like bacon strips, cut up bacon strips. Ow. Cut up bacon strips, basically put over a bunch of tortellini pasta, which I guess is sort of like dumpling looking, sort of like dumpling looking things, which I guess they're filled with a little bit of cheese. Kind of hard to tell, but it's pretty tasty. Those that type of pasta, I guess. And the sauce was good and all that, and had some mushrooms and some peas mixed in there and everything. Yeah, it was good. Decent portion as well and all that, so can't complain there. As is my tradition now, when I go to those little things, I usually bake something. And what did I make just a few days ago was a chocolate cheesecake with a brownie for the base, like instead of like the New York style with the crushed up graham cracker crust or whatever. I just baked like a brownie partially for the bottom, and then over that I poured the chocolate cheesecake batter or whatever. Yeah, it came out pretty good. But yeah, that was pretty cool and all that. Little get together. Last time we had that was about like 4.5 months ago, I think. So it was a fairly long time since we've done that. But all right. With that, I mean, I'll bring that up minorly later. But I made some kind of quite the page of notes. It'd be much easier. It would have been much easier if I could just read what I noted down by typing it all. But I was like, I can't really look at my stuff without shutting off the recording midway to look at the notes and shit. So if I did that, so I just said, fuck it, I'll just write it down. I'll just copy it all down by hand on the piece of paper, and it is surprising how difficult and slow it is to copy notes down by hand compared to just typing it. At least if you're good at typing, at least as well as I'm somebody that I don't often write down stuff anymore. But maybe I'll do it more often. But anyway, the first thing, as this is kind of a reaction of sorts to Billy's last video, where he was talking about a weird fucked up dream he had, a weird fucked up dream he had the night before, I guess. And, what was it specifically about? Well, not so much the dream, but the main topic of the video was him talking about, these, YouTube, like, influencer types that are pretty popular on YouTube now. People like Moist Critical, or well, I don't even know, is that still his name? Or did he change his name? I guess now it's like Penguin Z or whatever. He used to be Moist Critical. The stupid asshole Charlie or whatever. Yeah, pretty popular YouTubers and such. But you were mentioning, Billy, specifically the kind of like way that these people talk about certain topics. Like they all like lean towards a certain way at this point that one could see as a certain demographic that they're kind of catering to in some senses, or they're trying to pander. Yeah, I guess that would be the proper term. That they're kind of pandering to a certain group or a certain way of thinking, a certain like cult in a way, a certain cult of personality or whatever, a certain demographic they're catering to, pandering to, by saying some of the shit that they say. So, let's see, this is going to be harder than I thought to, like, kind of read the notes while walking around, but, I'll figure out a way. So, I'm going to be kind of reading verbatim from the notes to some extent here. Let's see, YouTubers that Billy mentioned that virtue signal, the modern morals, or whatever it might be called, at least this is how I'm saying it now, is that they are cowards who are afraid of rocking the boat and being chastised by others by speaking the truth. So they project the lies in hopes of not being beaten down by their other influencer buddies and community at large. So that's generally how I kind of view them doing that. There's so many others like that I know. Stuff, yeah, I guess people like that you mentioned, that the guy Charlie or whatever. I would also say people like Some Ordinary Gamers or whatever, the Indian guy Mudahar. I'd say the same shit. I can't think of like so many off the top of my head right now, but I know there's just countless others out there that do the same kind of bullshit. That are all like pandering to their own, jerking themselves off, as you had in your dream, literally fucking like jerking themselves off, or in that case, like fondling each other, fondling themselves about these bullshit lies that they keep projecting amongst each other, trying to not offend one another. Let's see, I tried to take my notes, which I was kind of doing as a stream of consciousness, just kind of noting it down, but then I tried to also reorganize it when I wrote these notes, copy them down, to hopefully be in a more coherent sort of flow, the way that the topics go, I guess. So hopefully that helps a little bit, but we'll see. But on that topic, or point 2, is I say, like, verbatim, or from this, guys, in quotation marks, guys, because I don't really think these guys are really, like, they don't act like men, let's just say that. They don't act like men, so I don't really want to call them men or guys. Like, they act like women more than anything, or fucking, the absurd way that things that they are trying to not offend people with, and the absurd things that they push, I would just put them under quote-unquote guys, like Charlie on YouTube, or as I'd probably call them in a derogatory way, bugmen. It's like in 1984, bugmen like Charlie. even if they are in some sort of relationship, which I think in his case he probably is, at least I've seen like 1 or 2 thumbnails where it's like him with some chick or some bullshit. So even if there are guys like him, bugmen, even if they are in some sort of relationship, they're quote-unquote women are almost definitely fucking other dudes on the side. This is part of their... Man, now I'm getting these fucking little gnats going all around my eyes, you little motherfuckers. Fuck these stupid fucking gnats that do that shit. Their women are almost definitely fucking other dudes on the side. This is part of their insecurity and why they make fun of the red pill stuff. These feminized dudes that virtue signal the modern BS only get female attention because they have clout and money. You know, clout, internet clout, and internet money. If you want to put it that way. They have clout and money. Beta providers, I put in quotation, you know, beta providers would be the red pill community term. I can't say for certain, but I have a pretty good hunch their, quote-unquote, women are doing some adulterous acts on the side. I think pretty much just spelling it out there as I did, hopefully makes my point clear that, like, these dudes, like Charlie, like Mudahar, at least I think, with like Mudahar, I think, but definitely people like Charlie or whatever, Penguins, whatever, yeah, them virtue signaling this bullshit and shitting on like people in the red pill community. Now, I'm not saying that those people don't deserve to be shit on in some cases, but them shitting on the ideas that they're putting out, some of them, and a lot of that stuff being actual like truths within you know, this physical reality, like what we've seen from female and male behaviors and stuff, just observations that can be seen by anybody if they're not trying to lie to themselves. But them doing that, like, even if they are in some kind of relationship currently, I don't know, you could just tell, like, right away that most of it comes from, like, an insecurity, because I think these dudes, maybe not deep down, but maybe they're just that stupid, but, really, I think just deep down, they are insecure about that shit, because they know, most likely, that whatever person that they're with, whatever chick that they're with, maybe they actively know, maybe they're just not sure, or maybe they feel like they might have that issue, but I'm pretty sure that these women, that in some cases are probably a little bit more on the, well, at least compared to them in some cases, you know, higher on the attractiveness, I forget what the term is, the attractiveness scale than they are. They're a quote-unquote a higher ranking catch or whatever than they would be on that scale of attractiveness or whatever. Yeah, they're most likely just, they're not really that attracted physically to people like him, but they are using them just like, you know, the beta provider thing. They're just using them for a room and board, you know, that's what they're using them for. Somebody that has resources that they can exploit, and then when they actually want to get their rocks off, or their you know, they want to get those tingles, they go to the actual guys that they are attracted to, which would be people that are not like that, or that might actually present in a more masculine kind of characteristics to some extent than people like this fucking Penguins dude. Shit, like, that's just basically what I'm saying, is that these guys are insecure fucks and trying to say that, like, some of the stuff that this red pill shit observes and talks about, what some could call facts about how people work, people behave, is this them just being insecure about that shit, and most likely those women are fucking dudes that they're with or whatever, are fucking dudes on the side without them even knowing, because they're fucking idiots. But, I mean, that's the kind of shit that I've seen, at least. Now I guess I'll go on to the next topic. And, yeah, the next topic. On a similar note, pickup artists and players, quote-unquote players, I would, at least this is from, obviously what my opinion is, are not necessarily strongly masculine men. Most of them are simply opportunists. Damn it. Most of them are simply opportunists taking advantage of the current messed up motherfucker, man. This wind now. You're gonna be fucking up my notes. Are simply opportunists taking advantage of the current messed up direction of the system, rather than trying to help correct it in any way. Now, I mostly say this, I kind of say this because I remember there was, like, one dude that, what was he? He's one of these TF2 YouTuber guys that he talks about, like, specifically the stupid game mode, Man vs. Machine. I think his channel name is like Wheezy something or something like that. And he was having a conversation, like a live stream conversation with the other TF2 YouTuber, Zesty Jesus. And he was basically telling Zesty Jesus, dude, man, the way that you look, like all the kind of like pickup artist, red pill kind of platitude or like adages and stuff, like, dude, the way that you look, and how tall you are and shit like that, he's saying, like, man, it's fucking impossible that you're not with some kind of woman or whatever, or the fact that he's like a virgin or some shit like that still. Something like that. But then, this guy, Wheezy, saying that, he was also saying, like, how he treats women and how he treats the relationship stuff, that he's like a pickup artist or whatever you want to say. He's like a quote-unquote player. Like, he just takes advantage to have sex with women more than anything, using that kind of red pill kind of pickup artist shit. And that's why I kind of view that sort of stuff more as they're not really masculine men per se. They're just they're kind of, maybe not so much faking it, but like they're using it to take advantage of the situation more than actually like use it for, I don't know, some kind of like stable thing or whatever. Like it's, I don't really want to get on the whole like idea of like the morality part of it or aspects of it or whatever, but it's clearly he's using that more to get laid than he is to try to like, he's using it for the short-term gain for himself to get his rocks off more than anything. And to me, that's not what masculine men really would be doing. Like, that's just me, I don't know. Masculine men would be, to me, building and garnering communities and trying to, make healthy communities and stuff like that, and benefit others and benefit themselves through that. Not fucking just trying to get their rocks off constantly, the constant sexual aspect of it, because that's all these pickup artists are doing. So to me, I just wanted to make that point that, to me, these kind of pickup artists, even though they might know how the quote-unquote the game works, they, to me, are not really masculine men. They are, I don't know what to call it, but they're opportunists. They're opportunists. Simple as that, I guess. They're taking advantage of the current fucked up system rather than what I would ever consider as I would consider truly masculine or whatever. Like, being an opportunist does not make you a masculine dude. Probably a poor way that I put it, but I think you hopefully get what I'm trying to say. On the same topic, so I'll just read kind of. I recall a guy I talked to a few years ago. It was very curious to find out that he was married and had a kid in Japan. This was a guy that was from the UK originally. He was a white man from the UK, and he was an expat, or a foreigner or whatever, a immigrant to Japan, because, at least for the time, it was because of work. He went there because his company wanted to. His company needed him to go there for work reasons or whatever. They needed somebody in Japan from their company and shit like that. So he decided to say, okay, I'll go to Japan. Maybe he didn't even expect to stay there, probably. But after some point, he decided to stay there, become at least up to that point, a permanent resident or immigrant to Japan. And to the point that he actually eventually got married with a local woman, a woman locally from Japan or whatever, Japanese woman, and he had a kid with her. I think it was a little girl or whatever. He had a kid with her. But it was really interesting to hear that even though he was married and had a kid, he mentioned to me that he was still going out, and he kind of worded it in a way that was, trying to not make it seem as bad as it was, or as bad as it sounded, I guess. But he was still having sex with other women and having other kind of short-term flings with other women while he was married and had a kid in Japan. Which, to me, would kind of fall under that sort of thing of the kind of pickup artist shit, the kind of opportunist kind of thing. I just wanted to note that because I thought it was kind of strange, but it was on the same kind of topic. But on that same note, this is kind of related to that exact same thing, but as well as a sort of different thing to talk about specifically. But I've noticed a recent trend in prevalence of the NTR or cuckold fetish topic in Japan or Japanese culture or whatever. And there being a real world example with this dude from the UK that I've just talked about. He said when he first moved to Japan, due to his work sending him there, he went to a good few bars and meeting spots that were specifically meant for local women to meet with foreign and expat dudes and have, sex with them, pretty much. I don't know what you'd call those in the U.S. or whatever, but, basically those kind of specifically places to find people and fuck. But in this case, it was specifically local women coming to meet foreign men and fuck. Pretty degenerate shit there, but hey, that's just what it is. Yeah, my notes are not very well spaced, so it's kind of hard to keep track of where I was. Local women to meet with foreigners and expat dudes and have sex, pretty much. He said one time he was actually approached by a woman who mentioned her husband wanted to watch. Who mentioned her husband wanted to watch. So this gets kind of graphic. Just FYI. I know, Billy, what you were talking about, that kind of shit, you were having trouble talking about it seriously or whatever, but I guess me, I'm fucked up. But yeah, just it gets a little graphic, little nasty. So the husband watched him fuck this husband watched this dude fuck his wife and finished inside of her. Finish inside of her. Then the husband went and licked the cum that he just came inside of her out of her pussy. Then afterwards, the husband may have fucked her afterwards or something. But either way, shows quite a bit of degeneracy there, and not just pushed in the media like with hentai and animes, that kind of shit. So this is stuff that some of these dudes are actually into that, apparently, or I don't know, like, what fucking possesses them to be into that bullshit, but apparently in Japan, and maybe, I don't know if it's in I don't know if it's prevalent in other countries, like in the US as well, but I know in Japan it seems to be somewhat prevalent of this cuckold fucking NTR bullshit. But actually happening, so there are apparently guys like that are into being cucked and such. Just wanted to note that. Yeah, I don't know. That's just something I wanted to bring up there as a example I heard. And yeah, this is all coming from this guy's mouth. I don't think he was just boasting or gloating. I don't think he was. But, you know, why would you want to boast about kind of like that? Like, he said it was a very awkward situation, but I guess he still wanted to get his rocks off, so he's like, fuck it. So he just let this dude watch him fuck his own wife. Yeah. Now this is just kind of stuff, more topics that, obviously everything is my own opinion, but, just from these kind of observations that I'm having here specifically on these topics. So, monogamous relationships really seem like the only thing that can work for both parties long term. This stuff with women and men continually getting into new relationships and breaking old ones, I think it just leaves both parties, especially the women, as truly unsalvageable quote-unquote damaged goods, completely traumatized emotionally in a way. The red pill community term would call it, they broke their ability to peer bond. That's what they say, at least with women that have slept with like dozens and hundreds of men or whatever. They broke their ability to peer bond, and then they can't really get into a relationship after the fact, a serious one, and just kind of like stick with it or make it like work out because they broke their ability to peer bond. They're just fucking traumatized basically from doing all that fucked up shit. That's why I say, I think that really long-term only monogamous people that have been, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but like, I guess the more and more you do that shit, the more you do just traumatize yourself to some extent and make it impossible to kind of stay in some kind of happy, monogamous, satisfied relationship or whatever. Next point, me just saying, like, in general, like, I think guys, we think about starting a family so much, even though I think men are much more capable of being able to exist in a satisfied state while being alone than women are. I think it is actually kind of impossible for women to feel satisfied and fulfilled without a man in their life. Makes sense when thinking about the men having God's light and such. Women just being able to reflect potentially that light from other men or whatever, people that have that light. People that emit that light. Like, women don't emit it, they don't really have it naturally, inherently. Kind of like with basically the Adam and Eve thing, is that like women came from a man originally, whatever it came from. The first woman was created by a rib of Adam himself. So it's like they're kind of just they're able to reflect God's light emitted from other people, but they don't have it themselves. So they look towards men to find that light. They look towards men to be able to find that light, God's light or whatever. But we men still think about it so much, that being getting into relationships with women and such. Even if we don't need it, we clearly still want something, though, since we talk about it so often. Like, I guess the point I was trying to make there is that, like, it is very interesting that I think that men are much more capable or able to kind of live a satisfied, fulfilled life to some extent without having to be in a relationship necessarily, or be in a long-term relationship, or have like a start a family or whatever, I think, at least. But even with that, we still seek and think about these things so often, which kind of tells me that it probably is obviously a fairly important thing in like maybe most humans' lives, or whatever you want to say, to try and start your own family, stuff like that. to some extent. Because, you know, even me, when I think about these things, I have a hard time, like, imagining it, especially in, like, modern society. I have a hard time imagining, like, being able to somehow find some woman and, like, start a family with them and shit. Just how damaged everybody is, and just, like, the seeming, like, perpetual cycle of, like, you know, all this bullshit. Like, you know, the, just the demonizing or whatever of all these, other things that we would see as, fairly important or basic things to, like, having happy and satisfied relationships and healthy patterns and stuff. Not just going around and sleeping with everybody. Not just using every person around you as somebody to take advantage of, like, transactionally, I guess. Rather, try to foster healthy relationships and all that kind of shit. I think you know what I'm saying. So I think it is probably a lot more important overall than we may try to make it out to be, I guess. Just because it's like, clearly, we wouldn't be thinking about it so often if it wasn't, I guess. And it wouldn't be something that we're just like, wow, it is fucked up how fucked up the society at large has become from this kind of fact, or have been, like, morphed over time and stuff, and the trajectory that we see it going. We're just like, oh my god, you know, there's, like, no chance that I would want to deal with that kind of shit. But we're still thinking about it, so clearly there's some importance to it, I guess. That's kind of the point I'm making. This is more kind of stuff I'm getting towards the end of my notes, thankfully. So this was kind of like talking to some boomers in the situation. That being, I was the only not boomer at that dinner party and shit. I was the only younger person. But so when I went to a family dinner party thing yesterday, my uncle, that being my dad's brother, older brother, my uncle brought up potentially retiring soon. So I asked him how he plans to occupy his time if he does retire. He pretty much gave the same answer as my dad. That being, he wouldn't know what to do with his time and would likely get pretty bored. I mean, my dad didn't say that he would get, like, bored. He would just do what he normally does. But I would see that as, like, eventually that shit would get fucking old. But who knows? These fucking people are weird. They could play, like, one fucking game and just play it for fucking tens of thousands of hours without any issues, I guess. Some people are just built different, but I guess. But still pretty much the same kind of answers. Like, he wouldn't really know what to do with his time. I can even see this behavior in my recently retired male neighbor to our right adjacent to us. I could just see that when he's going out and mowing his lawn and watering his grass and stuff, like, he's probably just, I could just tell, like, the fact that he's doing it so often, or doing it, like, I could just tell he's bored. You know, I could tell he's doing it not because he thinks that it needs to be done, necessarily, but he's doing it just because he doesn't know what to do with himself. I think you know what I'm saying there. So it's just like, I don't know. There's just so many people that they don't know what they like. When Billy's saying with the jobs and shit, people saying that they, you know, go and live your life. Well, I don't know if these people even know how to live their life, what living their life is outside of just working their job and doing that routine and shit. I don't think they know what it is. Like, just, you know, just something I wanted to note there is like they don't know what the fuck to do with themselves if they aren't being told what to do to some extent. Going to the same place every day, doing the same things, being told, you know, where to be, what to do, that kind of thing. Like, got spit on my screen, but oh shit. Don't zoom in, please. There you go. But yeah, I don't think they from what it seems, they don't know what the hell to do with themselves otherwise. This is the second to last thing I wanted to bring up. I'm just reading it from the notes, basically. I'm sure it would be much different if I actually got into a healthy relationship with a woman and such, but currently, being outside of one, I have trouble thinking that I wouldn't possibly have issues not feeling that fear of commitment urge I've had. Like, I've brought this up in another video before, but like, I feel like I have this kind of like fear of commitment or something like that to certain things, and I feel like I would have a hard time not feeling that. Just thinking about it, like, if I got into a relationship, I think I would have a hard time thinking, like, I'm gonna stay with this person the rest of my life kind of shit. Not that I would want to, like, do adulterous cheating shit or whatever. It's just, I have a feeling that that would come up in my head or something, like, I can't do this forever kind of thing. I don't know. Or for the rest of my life or some shit like that. Urge I've had before or thought about. But yeah, this might be something that would go away if you were actually in one already, rather than what it seems from the outside. Not sure. Just wanted to note that I felt stuff and thought about this before. Alright, so my last note that I have here that I wrote down. I've said this before, even though I think I understand masculinity fairly well, and even personify and exhibit some of these traits without actively having to think about it. It is just something that comes natural. There are definitely other traits that fall within that umbrella that I do not naturally exhibit. It would be something I'd have to force, I think, if I was going to, which is the part of being in a relationship that I don't think I would be able to do, at least, without feeling, quote unquote, fake in a way, like, feeling like, I was having to act or something, like, without it feeling fake in a way. It would have to be a mask of sorts I'd have to wear. Hopefully I can think of some examples while I'm talking about this. Kind of like, this is not necessarily actually masculine or whatever. Like, I think when I'm really thinking about it, this was more of a faux masculine thing, obviously. It was coming from a woman in this case. A woman that was definitely, like, pretty damaged at the end of the day. Like, this one chick that I went out with for a little while, probably the only chick the longest time, like a couple months, like 2-3 months. But that's what she desired in a sexual way. She wanted to be, like, dominated. Like, she didn't want the dude to be, like, kind of, like, submissive in the sexual act. She wanted him to, like, who knows, like, pull her hair, fucking, like, all that bullshit. But it was just something that I'm like, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. As well as it didn't really make sense because she was fucking taller than me by a pretty significant margin. She was like 6'2". I'm 5'4". So I was like, yeah, I don't know. It just didn't seem to make sense, like, to do that. So I didn't really feel comfortable, like, doing that. And I'm like, if this is what these women want, even though I know, and when I'm thinking about it now, I'm pretty sure that is just the warped, faux masculinity that these women have been taught about from, like, fucked up books and shit like that. So, yeah, I don't think that's really masculinity. So maybe I do exemplify most things of masculinity to some extent. But I think there's still some that I would have to kind of fake or put a mask on to actually do in some cases. Like, I don't mind leading things, but it's definitely something that is very draining to me. I guess maybe just being an extrovert, introvert. Just being an introvert, it's just, like, that kind of stuff is draining to me. Having to make decisions can be very taxing. Like, if I had to just literally make, like, every decision for another person, I'm like, oh, fuck. It just sounds fucking exhausting. So that's, like, one of those things that I'd probably feel like I would have to put a mask on to actually exhibit that all the time. Hopefully I can think of blah, 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 some examples, also such as my physical height or how much control over, how intimidating, and there's just certain things that I know women are just kind of naturally more attracted to, that being guys that are taller than them or are on the taller side. Like, at least I'm not a tall guy. Like, that's one of those things that I don't have, really any control of that. So it's one of those things that I can't really control that at all, like being a fairly short guy, 5'4". As well as, like, my general, like, look, to some extent, like, how intimidating I look, whatever, how broad my shoulders are, that kind of bullshit. That stuff I can't really control, and I know that, I just wanted to bring that up, I guess, as one of those aspects of stuff that it's like, I can't really exhibit those masculine traits in those ones, because I don't really have control of that, so we just had some difficulty there. I think that's the main stuff I wanted to talk about, at least that I have my notes, thankfully. Oh my god, this would be so fucked up if I didn't have some notes to look at. But hopefully this made it a little bit shorter and a little bit more concise due to that. But yeah, I guess that's mainly what I wanted to bring up, and hopefully that's some food for thought, and hopefully somebody finds that interesting or whatever, Billy or Rudy or whoever. Just some things I thought about and wanted to bring up, so yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you in the next one, and take care.